Hello and welcome back, or just welcome if this is your first webinar with the BBA. This is the second of a three-part sold-out webinar series, so apologies if you didn't manage to get in yesterday. And today we're looking at gaining UKCA marking, a step-by-step guide. In yesterday's first webinar, we discussed the intricacies of the UKCA mark, which there are quite a lot, and the transition from CE to UKCA mark. In tomorrow's part 3, we'll take a look at the ETA to UKTA transition, but today we're going to look at how to gain the UKCA mark. Just to note, each webinar and the attributing slides will be available on our website, and you'll receive a link after both recordings, and you'll probably receive another link from the BBA, another email from the BBA with everything you need from all 3 webinars. So if you missed out on any, you won't miss out in its entirety. So let me just do a bit of admin, and you'll see in these slides from yesterday if you were with us. But who are the BBA? We've been around for over 50 years helping the construction industry and manufacturing industries, and we build confidence in creating and implementing the solutions and products throughout the entire supply chain. We're looking to develop long-term partnerships with clients and associations, and we help and enable growth in UK and global marketplaces. But we always remain reassuringly impartial. It's important to also note that although BBA are a for-profit organisation, they're limited by guarantee. So we look to reinvest in the industry as a whole for the benefit of you and all the stakeholders involved in our industry. There's a few stats just to paint a pretty picture for you all. The big number is probably the most important, and with over 50 years of experience, we have issued over 6,000 certificates. There are a few other numbers on there, some big, some small, and I'll let you just digest those for a couple of seconds. But needless to say, we're in it for the long haul, and we're here to help and support the whole industry. But more importantly, what are we talking about today? So if you're a manufacturer or a distributor based in the UK or situated in the EU, it's important that you understand the changes that are happening as they may affect your trading capabilities. So I'm talking about Brexit there. It's especially true when it comes to CE marking and the introduction of the UKCA marking. The BBA can help, support and guide you through these changes for both UK and EU markets. So in this webinar, we're going to take a look at a step-by-step guide to UKCA Marking Conformity, what other elements you need to consider, and then we'll finish off with a brief Q&A, just to answer those burning questions you may have. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A function in this webinar. We might not get round to all of them. We'll try our best to cover all questions, and if we don't, we'll get back to you after the webinar has concluded at some point. We had loads from yesterday, which is fantastic, and we will get back to those people, and we'll get back to you all to answer questions in some way, shape or form. So please do use that Q&A feature if you feel necessary. So without further ado, who is presenting today? Well, I'm delighted to say we've got Jason Harries, the Business Development Manager at the BBA. Jason has nearly 25 years of experience within the construction industry. So yet again, as we were with John, we're in safe hands. So Jason, welcome, and over to you. I'm going to make you presenter, and the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the build-up. Thank you, everyone. I hope you can see my my slideshow up on the screen now.
Yeah, we look good. Jason.
You've got it, Peter?
Yeah, all good.
All good, lovely, thank you. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. As Peter said, feel free to laugh, groan, hang your head as I talk, but please, if we could just ask questions at the end to help this go. Okay, so as we said, a quick guide. As a little bit of a step-to-step walkthrough as to what to expect, what questions to ask, what information we require. This just helps it proceed more smoothly and helps us. So just a quick little caveat in there that all information is given in good faith by the BBA and is based on the latest government guidance that we have at this stage. Okay, so into the main part of it. you'll see a little track running along the bottom of the screen as I talk, and gradually each box will go red. We'll be starting with the question of, do I need it? Which I'm hoping most people already know the answer to. Working through the different stages as to how we will handle your project right the way through to applying the UKCA mark at the end of the process. So the first part of it starts with you asking the question of, do I need it? And there's a couple of quick ways to identify this. Hopefully most people will already be aware that they're going to need it, but do you currently have a product that is CE marked? If you do, then that's telling you you're going to need UKCA marking. Are you covered by a harmonised standard? Or are you covered by currently an ETA? In which case, that's going to inform you need this. And we do get people contacting us unsure as to whether they're going to require this or not. And we can't answer for you on that necessarily. You know your product, you know your industry far greater than we do. So one of the simple guides I would always say to people is, check your competition, be aware what your competition are doing. That may well just inform you as to what you need to do. And just to be clear, whether you're an importer or whether you're the manufacturer, it's the person putting the product onto the UK market who's responsible for ensuring that the UKCA mark is in place. And just so we're up to date with the current legislation on that, any new product entering the UK market should be UKCA marked with immediate effect. And existing products will require it from January of next year. So ask the question, do I need it? Look at the possible reasons why you may, and then that's going to inform you what to do next. The next stage being you pick up the phone to the BBA or you drop the email to the BBA and we start the inquiry process. So the next stage is you've decided that you may need it, you've got in touch with the BBA. The good chances are either myself or one of my colleagues, Azif, will be in contact with you either by phone or by email, and we will go through what your possible requirements are. What we're looking to do, first priority is to sort of ascertain, is it something we can help with? As Peter gave you a bit in the introduction, the BBA's background is construction products. Our scope is construction products. We're not able to help with things like clothing or toys or narrow boats. And these are all inquiries we get, but our remit is around construction products to help you with. So we're looking at what your products are. The key information we really need, and this follows all the way through the inquiry, is what harmonised standard or what ETA number is your product to be assessed against. Part of that is we look and then, is that standard within our scope? Is it something that we're able to help with or not? But also it informs some more of the information down the line. And then particularly something called the Avcp level. Now, this is very key, as I'll go on to explain on future slides about how we handle your inquiry. Now, this is a question that at this stage we get a lot of people scratching their heads, so please don't feel alone if at this point you're thinking, what is the Avcp level? Where you will find this typically, if you've got a product that's CE marked, your declaration performance should already have this on there. That's where you'll pick it up. Within the standard that you comply to, if you read the British standard, it will give you what the Avcp level is. And this very much relates to what the application of your product is. So again, it's not a question we can answer for you, because some standards may give you 2 or 3 possible Avcp levels, but it's how you see your product being applied that answers that. But when you get in touch, if you can be prepared with these 3 bits of information for us, and once we have the conversation, I find it very easy, if you've got a lot of products, to maybe put it into a spreadsheet. We've got the product name, how we identify it, we have that standard number, and we have that Avcp level. That's the key information we need at this stage, and it'll help the conversation go much easier. So we followed on from that. We've had a conversation with you. We've qualified. We understand, yes, it's something we're able to help with. We know what way the process will go with that. The next stage will be to move on to an application form. Now, we deal with a lot of customers who know the BBA very well, and whilst we may know you very, very well, your UKCA inquiry may be handled by people who've not dealt with yourself before. So for this benefit, we want to capture all the information again. It's a relatively simple, painless application form. The key thing we want to capture is the company information, and where we put that, that's really around having the information that would go on the contract. So sometimes we might be dealing with a UK entity, but it will actually be the parent company based overseas who the contract will be with. It doesn't matter who we're dealing with, it's as long as we've got that information captured as to who we would ultimately be issuing the contract to. It just saves us time down the track. Again, what we talked about on that first slide, this list, just listing there the products, the standards and Avcp levels, whereby people have got multiple products. And like I say, if we look at putting it into a spreadsheet, I would just put in the application form, see attached spreadsheet. It's going to be much easier to manage. And then there's space in there to record supporting documentation. At this stage, a lot of the time is to make reference to it. And we'll explain, and I'll explain in a minute about how the different Avcp levels will affect what information we require from you. But be prepared to enter things like test report details, factory production control certificates, your declaration of performance, and always send that through the supporting documentation just to help us at those stage. And key within this as well is just to list production facilities for those particular products. So whereby you may have 3 or 4 facilities, just so we can identify which ones relate to which products, particularly as you'll find that on some application forms your product range may span a number of Avcp levels. So what we have to do is deal with those slightly separately. So that's the application stage. The key stage next is how we determine the level of work and then apply costings to it. So as I mentioned earlier, the Avcp levels are very, very key for the way we look at it. So if I start by addressing them in order, Avcp 1 and 1+, your inquiry, your whole process for this will be dealt with through our what we call our PAC department, our product approval certification department, the team that deal with all your Agremont certificates. At the bottom is the output, and this is the key thing that you require from us. Based on all of this, so you can UKCA mark, you require some level of endorsement from us. And in this case, it's a certificate of constancy of performance. That will be the output. That's what we will issue, and you will be able to UKCA mark once you've got that document. How that's done, as part of the process here, we will be going through assessing your current factory production control, or if one is required, we'll be looking at notified body reports. In the case of 1+, we'll be determining the product type or looking at initial type testing. So we'll be going through all that background to it before we can reach the point of issuing the certificate. Key information that we'll be asking you to provide through this, and you may choose to send this to the application stage, if we've got details of your current notified body that provide the factory production control, and if possible a contact. In many cases this may already be the BBA, and we may already be doing surveillance for an Agremont certificate, in which case just notify it in there. It just means it doesn't get missed if somebody who was handling this part of the process isn't the person who's been dealing with your Agremont certification. We'll be looking at lists or copies of notified body test reports for each product. That's particularly relevant if it's a 1+. And again, as we asked, all relevant production locations. So if you're an Avcp 1 or 1+, the output is the certificate of constancy of performance. Once we've issued that to you, you can go ahead and UKCA mark. So that's the output there. If we look at level 2+, Avcp level 2+, is handed through our audit and inspection department. The output of this is a certificate of conformity of factory production control, or your FBC certificate. So hereby we're assessing what the factory production control is, that all processes are in place, that the paperwork's there, that you've got all the relevant details for that. Now, because we're dealing with factories producing all over the world with this as well, one of the key things that we need to know is who currently provides this. And it may be again that we're already doing surveillance there. The reason we look at this is if we can piggyback with an existing notified body, and we've got agreements in place with a number of people for the purpose of factory production control, whereby we can share data, it makes the process a little bit quicker. But importantly, we've done it this way to try and reduce the cost to yourselves as well by piggybacking on it. It isn't always possible, and it may be that we've got to go and do a physical factory production control. But where possible, we're trying to work with partners to achieve this. There is a possibility as well that we'll tie it in where we can with any existing BBA surveillance as well. Again, for the purpose of rather than having 2 trips to a factory, we're having 1. So the duplication saves us time and reducing cost. So that's the way that we would head with the Avcp2. And moving on to Avcp Level 3. This is handled through our test department, and the output of this is, we'll use the term reissue of test reports for the moment, but this matter is currently under or awaiting approval from the Minister for Housing, Communities and Local Government as to whether we can accept the European notified body reports and how they're dealt with. It may be that we've effectively got to assess the report and provide a certificate to say that we have assessed that report. I'm using the term just reissue because that's the way we've been referring to it for now. But what will happen with this is hopefully with the MHCLG approval, which we believe is due in the next or the coming week or weeks, that we will effectively be able to take your existing test reports that have been done by EU notified bodies, and we will be able to assess those and issue you a certificate for the purpose of UKCA marking. If you've got testing which has already been done in the UK and is already current, then that will be sufficient without any input from ourselves to do in terms of UKCA marking, because it will have been UK issued. However, you may then have issues with CE marking that you would need a notified body from Europe to reissue that test for CE marking purposes, which at the moment I don't believe they're doing. So that's Avcp Level 3 as it comes in. Now, I'll quickly touch before we move on to the level that's missing and I haven't mentioned here, which is Avcp Level 4. Avcp Level 4, again, all of this process mirrors what we do with CE marking. Avcp Level 4 is a self-declaration level. So if you find that yours comes at Avcp Level 4, we'll generally pick this up at that first conversation before we get as far as an application form. With that, providing you've got all your details correct, you've got your own file, you've got your own data, you've got your own test reports, you've got everything that you can back it up. You'll find again a link on the government website which tells you exactly what you need to have. But as long as you've all got that under Avcp Level 4, then it's happy days for you. On you go. You can apply your UKCA mark accordingly. You require no third-party input whatsoever. So that's Avcp Level 4. So how do the stages go on? So we've gone through your application. We've determined what work. We've determined you may have a list of products and you may have 10 products that fall into Avcp1. You may have 20 that fall into Avcp2+, and you may have some that fall into Avcp3. Well, the next stage is we'll come back to yourself by email with a verbal estimate of the next stages, just so you're informed of the indication of the costs and how we move forward. So how do we cost these out? Well, Avcp1 and 1+, we've got a fixed price for each of these certificates of constancy of performance, and then there may be an additional fee for additional locations. So, for example, you have one standard for a product that's manufactured 3 locations. The additional 2 locations, there would be an additional certificate fee, a nominal fee of £250 per certificate for the additional sites. So this is why I say it's important that we capture which products are manufactured at which locations. And then with AVCP1, the additional cost on top of that would be the number of these test reports. So a requirement in there is that we look at this, again, using the term reissue of test reports. We would need to go through those. Now that's based on the number of reports, and the number of standards on each report is how we would cost that out. So that would just vary depending on those reports. Hvcp Level 2 plus, again, this can vary slightly depending on whether we've got an agreement with your existing notified body who conduct it or not. If we have an agreement with that body in place, or if we haven't, we will try and reach one. Again, please provide contact details. It does make life much easier. If we can reach an agreement, then effectively we're reissuing a certificate. So there would be the cost of a license fee and the cost of a certificate, which is far lower than us having to go out and do a physical inspection, particularly if it may be an overseas factory and we've got to cost in flights and accommodation, etc. So it will vary slightly, but what we're looking to do there, if we can deal with the existing notified body, great. And if not, we will put together the cost and we'll give you the cost for us doing the visit, and you'll get a price for an initial inspection, and then you'll get a cost for the ongoing, because obviously these need to be maintained annually. We'll provide you that at the estimate stage. In terms of Avc P3, the price will be based again on the number of test reports and the number of standards per report. So once you send that in, this is why I say certain information we'll be asking you for more at that early stage when we ask you to fill out the application form. In the case of Avc P3, most critical will be if you can provide us the test reports, and this will be like your initial type testing. So your notified body test reports that are applicable to each product. We're not worried about or tabulated data or in-house testing. This is only for initial type notified body testing. So you may have 2 reports. You might have a separate report for fire, and you might have a separate report for water vapor permeability or tensile strength or whatever else may be applicable. So if you can provide those, we will then look at that and we will cost it together. Now, what we also look at when we're doing that, and this is why it's important we capture the information, we will always try and bring in, if there is shared data, if there is a commonality, we're always looking to see if we can help reduce the cost to yourself. And if all of the tests are issued for the same standard by the same test house, then it's going to make it much easier when we have to go through and assess these. So if it reduces our time, it's going to reduce the cost as well. So it's important we capture this information at that stage, but that's where you will get your verbal estimate come out then. So then it all starts to move. Once we've got that agreed with yourself, we will get to a point, we will issue the contracts with a full cost on the contract for yourself. That comes out. Once you're happy with it, I mean, we may have discussions in the meantime, but you've got the details there. You'll have a signed contract returned to us, invoices will be raised. We'll then commence the necessary work, as I said, depending on what the AVCP level is and what we've done. At this point, you may get one of our certification team contact you for additional information if it's not all there with the application, or if necessary, maybe to arrange a site visit. But that work will be underway, and then at the end of it, the relevant paperwork will be issued, whether that be an FCP certificate or whether that be the assessed test report documents. Now we're typically saying at the moment that period from contract to final issue of the paperwork, we're looking at a period in the ballpark of 2 months. Very often it's coming out to more 5 to 7 weeks, but if you kind of set a mindset of saying that's roughly a 2-month period, plus you may have a little period of time beforehand whilst we're getting the information together, please do get in touch with us at the earliest opportunity to start planning these. Once we've got your application, we've got you in the system, at least we know the work's there, we're tracking you. What we're trying to avoid is the big rush come October where people suddenly go, oh, got to get it done, because 2 months might become 4 by then. So please do take, when I say this is a sort of 2-month period, act as soon as possible on it. So that's it when you get to issue the paperwork. And what next? Well, as I say, the UKCA mark has been intended to mirror the CE marking. So never forget that it's yourself as the manufacturer who applies the UKCA mark. We don't physically give you a document with it, or we give you the certificate which you use to say we've fulfilled this part of it, and this forms part of your UKCA mark. The two things you really will do, one will be your physical mark. That may be on your product or packaging, depending on your product. Sometimes it may be on supporting literature, in your brochures, on your website, etc., wherever you choose to publicise that. And also the supporting technical documentation, so your declaration of conformity. So not a great deal has changed, particularly from the CE marking. You may find that your notified body then becomes the BBA, because you've obviously done it in the UK through us for the different parts. But you're publishing the same sort of information. The one thing that I would urge all people to go to for details is the address I've put on the right-hand side here, which is the government website. Very good resource. That is the most up-to-date. I mean, as Peter said at the beginning, we have to be careful. We are the BBA. We're not here to be consultants and tell you how to do all of these things. Our expertise is in the checking and the verification of the data, and making sure that everything complies. Not in the actual application of it. So in case anything changes, I would urge you just to check the latest government guidance before you do it. You'll find the logos on there to use, and you'll find any of the latest requirements. But very, very simply, it is mirroring what we did with CE marking. So hopefully that goes through the process of the information we require, why we require it, and how the whole chain will run through for you. So I would like to thank you for listening to me, and if there are any questions, then I'd like to open it up to those, please.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for all that. Yes, we have got a fair few questions, and I know time is quite short. In fact, we're almost bang on the half hour, but I think we'll just answer a few of these. And like I said at the start, we won't get time to answer them all, but we will get back to you at some stage as soon as we possibly can with an answer to everybody's question. So now's the chance to get those questions in for the last few minutes, and even if we don't get round to it, we will get back to you with an answer. So the first question I've got here, Jason, is we also sell through third parties as white label goods. Do they need to go through this process, or can they piggyback on our certificate?
Okay, essentially yes, we can work with reproductions. Always get in touch with us first to discuss it, because there may be different little nuances for each product, but we do have a lot of manufacturers that are doing this, where it's manufactured in one factory and sold through 2 or 3 distributors as an own brand good. Yes, we can do that with the permission of the manufacturer, who's probably going to hold the original certification. We can offer reproductions to allow you to UKCA mark, but do get in touch to discuss individual inquiries. Thank you.
Fantastic. So this is a question from Miguel, and he's saying, in addition to UKCA, does a manufacturer not based in the UK need a representative based in the UK to put construction products in the UK market?
No. We're dealing with a lot of manufacturers based overseas who supply directly into the UK, in which case it would be yourself who would have the contact with us, and that we would deal with to issue you the UKCA, and then whether you supply it to contractors or how you supply it into the market, that's purely down to you, but you don't need to be UK based to do it. The only thing the UKCA marking is the authorised or approved body, as is the new term for notified body for the UK, needs to be UK based. You'd need to come through us to achieve the UKCA marking.
Fantastic. So kind of a 2-in-1 here, Jason. So the first part, and then I'll add on to it, from Carlo, which from signing the contract, how long does it take to get the UKCA marking? And I suppose the secondary part of that is, what have been delays to the process so far, if any?
Yeah, okay, so first part of the question is, as in the one slide, we're working on, I'm saying 2 months from signing the contract to the issue of the paperwork. We are turning them around a little bit quicker, but I would rather stick with the story of saying 2 months, and then it makes sure that we've got plenty of time on there. In terms of delays, there's been a number. We're affected heavily by some outside influences through both UKCAS and through the Minister for Housing, Community and Local Government. One of the key ones I think I mentioned on Avcp Level 3 has been that we're still waiting on official approval that the UK government will accept test reports that have been issued in Europe. This is something the BBA have been pushing very hard, and certainly other industry bodies have. The Construction Products Association this week have been doing so as well, because obviously we're all conscious time's ticking on and we need them to move quickly. A paper has been issued, which is out for approval with the stakeholders. We are expected to see movement on that within if I said the next couple of weeks would probably be safe, but that's been certainly a major delay, because until the UK government have agreed that, then we're sort of sat waiting. We don't want to issue contracts to people that we can't fulfill at this stage. That's been one of it, and the other has just been with some of these having the contracts agreed and in place, ready to go again, knowing what the process is going to be that's been agreed with the government. The one thing that I think catches people out is obviously Brexit has been this thing that's been on the table for a number of years now, and we've known about. But what we've got to appreciate is we didn't really know what the impacts were going to be until the very end of December last year. So a lot of these processes and procedures had to start being drawn up at the beginning of, or the end of December, beginning of January, because we couldn't really second guess what the government were going to do. So there's been a number of outside influences which have slowed it down. There's a couple which we're hoping will clear up very, very soon. But I hope that answers that question.
Excellent. So just two more just to finish up, because I know we've gone over time. So this is a bit of a tester. I don't think I know the answer to this, but if you don't know, Jason, I'm sure we'll be able to find somebody in the BBA that does, and we'll get back to Stephen on this one. Will the reissue of test report from System 3 apply to reports obtained from an EU-based notified body after the 1st of Jan 21?
That we're waiting for clarification on, actually, with this. My feeling is possibly not. What is being discussed at the moment is a possible period of grace in which time they're accepted. Now, I understand that will only be for test reports that have been issued before the 1st of January 21, not 22. But that we would need to clarify, Stephen. That at the moment is still not absolutely clear.
Okay, excellent. And we'll finish on this one from Kate. If a product is covered by both an ETA and a HEM, is UKCA mandatory?
Anything covered by a harmonised standard, UKCA marking is mandatory, the same as it would be with CE marking. For a product covered by an ETA, and I don't want to steal my colleague's thunder because there's an excellent webinar tomorrow on ETAs and UKTAs, but quite simply, an ETA won't be recognised or is not recognised any longer in the UK to be assessed against. If you have an ETA, you are obliged to CE mark. If you have an ETA, you're not obliged to UKCA mark. However, you may choose to, because what we're finding is that insurers and warranty providers, specifiers are asking that clients have UKCA marking. The only way you can UKCA mark then would be to have your ETA converted to a UKTA with which it could be assessed against. Now, there's a great webinar on that tomorrow. If you can't join it, please email and we'll explain more on that. But if you have a harmonised standard, you absolutely must UKCA mark. If you have an ETA, you're not obliged to, but you would have to go down the UKTA mark if you chose to. Hope that answers that, Peter.
Fantastic, Jason. I think we're going to wrap it up there. We've got a fair few other questions, but we will get back to everybody that's left a question for us today. Some interesting questions thrown at you there, Jason. So well done on answering them. And just from me, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It is very, very much appreciated. And Jason, thank you for your time and knowledge on UKCA marking and how we can get that conformity and issue that mark.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, as well.
Great stuff. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow, so please do join us if you've signed up for that. And yeah, we'll see you then. Goodbye.